live, and we're back. It's been kind of a strange week, but back at it. So one of the things we were working on setting up the world as an application. And so that exposed that we had kind of a mismatch of configuration, but it's fixed now, so you just run IEX-S mix, and it'll actually set up the applications to start automatically. So if you go here to applications, we see our game server is running, and we'll see that our world is running. And so you can see all the different processes running. You can see that we have a repo pool. Here's our player store, battle command queue. But this also opened me up to another interesting design flaw is if we have one command queue, we can only have one game running at a time. That's bad. Having one main timer, probably okay, but we're going to have multiple for each game. So we're going to need to scale these out better. But in the meantime, we can live without it as we design more of our game. But these are some things we're going to have to solve before we go too far, right? When we want to run multiple games at once. But while we're at it, let's go to our applications and our world, and we have our live world. This is the only place we're at. We need to set up a way to have multiple worlds, and maybe having another app isn't the right idea, but we're going to try it. So the idea here, and I think I drew this up last time, was that we're going to have a way to split up our world so it's a bit easier for not easier, but it's actually a lot harder, to send the data as we need it, and kind of ask the world where the units are at any given time. So I'm going to sort of work it out here. So what we need is some way to subscribe to the world, and I guess we'll just call it the world server. We can come up with a better name later. So if module world server, I'm just going to use a gen server. Def start link to end gen server start link. It's going to be implemented with this module. And this is where things are kind of going to be a little bit tricky, because not fully sure how we want to set this up yet. And we have multiple world servers. We're probably going to need to pass in the dimension. So we're going to need to create the structure that. I can't seem to think very clearly there or something. World, and something that we're going to need across. We're also going to need no, we won't. Okay. Still thinking through this new stuff. We're going to need a dimension ex def module dimension. Actually, it should be world server world dimension. And we're going to need to change this over here too. Oops. Darn. World server. Dimension is going to be a struct, so def struct. I'm going to have x Z width height. Yeah, just noticed how that is kind of an issue, but that's in place. And we're going to need a type dimension. It's going to be a world dimension. And type spec. No, it's just spec. Start link dimension, and this is going to return OK and PID or error already started. It's error. One way to find out. IX mix. Well, dimension is not available. Do gen server. Oh, I have to do def module. Foo do use gen server def start link to gen server start link module row name module and end foo.start link foo.start link, and it comes out as error already started PID. Okay, so that's what we want. So that is what we want, and this is going to be PID. And that's it. In fact, you know what? This is not even possible, so I'm going to take one all the way out. That might make the dilatation mad, so let's stick with it. Alright, so we've got that started up, and what we need to do, I think, is that we can. So this is the doc. This is premium module doc. And this is the entire world. This will hold the slices in which to hold the slices, we'll just say that. So that's the entire world, so we'll need the entire dimension. The entire dimension of the map. Okay. Now, what we need to do is we need to def. What we want is we want to add a unit. add a unit. And that's going to be a unit. Spec add unit. And this is going to be type unit team server models all unit. And let's return OK. Let remove unit. Spec remove unit. Okay. And I think that'll go fine. So what's interesting within this is that we need to set up a way to sort of figure out at any given point when to subscribe the unit to a different world. And so we could recursively do this, which is probably the right idea. Probably not, actually. Probably need to make them into separate things. So we can give it the entire world, and we should probably break it down. Just thinking through this. If we do partitions, or map, then we set up the start link. Partitions. From here, world partition, def module world partition. It's going to use the gen server. And we're going to def start link, and this is going to be a dimension, type dimension, world dot dimension. Gen server start link is going to return spec start link dimension. It's going to be okay and PID or error already started. There we go. This is module, and we need, probably set this up as a tuple, which is the dimensions, and the units, which is going to be a list. Now, def add unit do def remove unit here and def handle call add unit from, it's going to be dimension units. And def handle call remove unit from and that's going to be the units as well. And I'm going to say def get units and def handle call get units. Need that from ignored units to end apply units. That's an easy one. Def get dimension and server dot call. We're going to need the kid get dimension. Okay. Get handle call. Get dimension from, and we're going to need the dimension. We don't care about the units. We still want to remember it. Units and do end apply dimension and dimension units dimension we're going to need this no matter what. Dimension okay, this is going to reply with okay, and this is going to be dimension units. We should probably make this a map. And so now we're going to reply okay, dimension units, and what we're going to do is we're going to say units equals maps map put units unit dot ID and unit. Okay. Now that should do it. Units equals map dot remove units unit ID. Okay. That should get us most of the way there on that one. Gen server call add unit and we need our PID. It's important. And server call PID remove unit. Okay, get unit and server call PID get units. Okay, that's done for now. Over here, we're going to set up our partitions. So we're going to set up a way to figure out how many partitions we need. The dimensions will come in, and we need to math it up. One way is the width and height. We can always enforce the width and height to be like a given size. Let's say 800 by 800. It's probably too small, so let's make it bigger. Just coming up with some numbers off the top of my head. Let's say 1600. That seems like a pretty good size. 1600 by 1600 square, right? So that's about the size of a laptop screen. Of a MacBook Pro. It's probably pretty big. Let's just do a quick search here. MacBook Pro 15-inch screen resolution. 2880 by 1800. So maybe 2600 isn't really that far off. Definitely don't want to go too small. I think that's too small. So I kind of like my 1600 squared. So let's stick with that. We're just going to annotate it here. So partition width 1600, partition height is also going to be 1600, and so the dimension, so the enum, let's get the enum screens wide will be dimension dot width divided by partition width. Num screens high dimension height divided by partition height. Okay. Now we need to do a range. So we can do for partitions high and 0 none screens wide. Do end for j 0 screens. I want to do high first. Wide. Do end. Okay. And now we're going to need to start a PID. Associated with that. And so the partitions map will probably be, the key will probably be x, y with height, and the value will be the PID. Is it necessary that way? Find out. In fact, it might be easier for now is to just do partitions. And def we do, so we can run it in a separate process. Yeah, we do want to map out of this. So stick back to that, and keep rolling. Okay, so don't need this yet. Let's think about this here. We're going to need to create a dimension, so a dimension. And I'm just going to alias world dimension. Okay. Dimension. X is going to be I. J is going to be, Z is going to be. So we can change this to X, Z, X, Z. Width is going to be X times partition width, and height is going to be y z times partition height. So we've got a weird issue right now at the moment, but we're going to just kind of live with it. As That's assuming that we're always in multiples of 1600. That may not always be the case, but for now we're going to stay that way. Keep it simple. So maybe we can even note it here. Assumes the screen is a perfect square multiple of partition width and height. Okay. Now I'm going to take this off, but that's wrong. Alias will partition. In fact, I want to inject it. And we're going to use the injector. Okay. And now we need to do world partition start link with our dimension, and that'll give us our PID for that. And finally, we're going to say partitions equals map.put partitions, and our key will be xz x. So let's say width is equal to x times partition. Actually, this is easier to say. Dim width, dim height. That's the key, and the value is going to be PID. And that should do it. We can always get the dimensions from the PID, so that's a pretty safe bet. Now, when we add a unit, we're going to need to iterate through all of our partitions in this handle call. We're going to say add unit from, and this is going to be our partitions, and that handle call in fact we don't, we just need to get the dimensions, and we can do all that work outside. So I hate having to rebuild this every time. So if we assign the partitions and then we return the dimensions, and we're now in the realm of creating a test. Make CXS, and we're going to need a syringe and that's going to be 10.0 xdepth.get. All right, and then what we need to do from here is world, what do we call this? World server. Oops. World server test-exs. Def module world server test. Do end use x unit case async true. Use the mocker. I'm going to alias world server test for setup. Do end mock the world alias world partition. Mock the world partition and okay, test. Should start world server with dimensions given. And do end. And we should intercept world partition start link with a dimension, which we do is any, and with function don't really care, and we're going to return okay, and we'll need a PID. In fact, I wonder if we can do task start link function receive do end, and that'll give us that, and intercept, and we're going to create a dimension. So alias world dimension. We're going to alias the game server models battle unit, and we're going to create a dimension which is going to be dimension. This is going to be x0 z0 width. To do 1600 times 10. That seems big enough. Height is going to be 1600 times 10. That's that. We don't need any units right now, so that's fine. And now we're going to do world server. Okay, and a PID. And we'll start link with the dimensions. And what we'll need to do is we're going to need to mock here, and within the context of that PID, and intercept those calls. And what we could do partition we can IO inspect partition just to see what's going on there, and we are stuck because this is wrong. This was correct in the first place because that PID wouldn't be started yet. So that was correct in the first place. And so now we need to assert that was called world partition start link any is 100 times 100, right? 10 by 10. And so we could intercept the gen server start link and see what the partitions look like. Kind of clever, but let's just stick with what we got for now. Let's test. And line 39. This is world partition. World partition 39. There we go. And undefined function PID under world partition line 16. PID and battle unit unavailable, so we can go to mix, and we're going to go to the end, and we're going to do game server. Path is going to be game server. Do it, mix, web stat, put. Okay. Let's do that. Game server. Don't want the path anymore. I'm going to use 0.10.0. Oops. Let's test. And world server 26 dimensions num screens high. And 18, nope, that's the test. Test world server. And line 17. Function receive do end. End. Use the marker, we want to import it. And there's our failure mock PID map server. Oh. BI test helper. Test helper. Mocker start. And actually we're going to need to do name server config test. And we're going to need this config. We need to open up this. I need to edit config test.exs. Edit server config test. Link. Edit dev link edit config dev.exs. Use mix.config. Is that correct? Yes. VI config test. Use mix.config. Mix test once again. All right. Both sides should be an integer. So round it then. Sounds easy enough. Come on, computer. All right. It was called 121 times. Probably because test world server test. We need to multiply by 9 because that's 0 base 9. There we go. So that works. The question is are the partitions set? Inspect dimensions. Actually, probably take this out. And yeah, so we have all the dimensions. So we have the partitions, and we have the dimensions. Is that what we want? Well, not everyone will know. So if we get to the dimensions, that'll give us that, and here if we change the here to dimension, now we can pattern match on it. Our X and Z is wrong. In fact, very wrong. Because that's what it's supposed to be. And our width is going to be partition width. Height is partition height. Alright, this is it for today. We got to get started on it though. Let's see, a problem in our world partition is remove units. It's delete. And that's it for today. We got quite a bit started, but it's really good. So you guys have a good weekend. Happy coding. See you Monday.